Welcome into the New Orleans Saints podcast. You'll hear from players, coaches, broadcasters, and writers that cover the NFL on a daily basis. The New Orleans Saints podcast starts right now. Here's your host, Erin Summers.
Welcome into the New Orleans Saints podcast. I'm Erin Summers. The Saints are looking forward to a Monday Night Football matchup at Green Bay, 7:15 on ESPN or ABC. Yes, it is a big primetime game for the Saints, and they're going to be outside in some elements. It is supposed to be between 25 and 32 degrees outside, and they are predicting snow, 1 to 3 inches, in fact, which is apparently a lot better than things are looking in Green Bay today, because apparently there is a big winter storm coming through right now. The Saints did have a light walkthrough yesterday, and then today they kicked off practices outdoors on the outdoor fields, even though the weather isn't quite the same. Still getting a feel for the natural grass that they'll see up in Green Bay. They'll practice Friday and Saturday and then head north on Sunday. The big question surrounding this game is again at the quarterback position, who will start Monday night for the Saints. Interim head coach Darren Rizzi touched on that, the status of running back Alvin Kamara, who is dealing with a groin injury, and the return of wide receiver Chris Olave to practice on Thursday.
I wanted to give some injury updates before you guys, we got a few injury updates. So let's start with some good news. We were able to open up Chris Olave's 21-day window today. He got some great news. He had some went for a recheck like we had talked about, and he was cleared for football activity. So I am super, super happy for Chris. It's great news for him. And so he resumed practice today. He was limited today. We're going to just kind of, obviously he had significant time off, so we're going to kind of take it step by step with him. But I couldn't be happier for him and more as a person than a football player. Really, really excited about him. He was in a great mood today, all smiles. And for those that were out there, probably saw him running around. That's great. The situation with Alvin right now, it was probably a little bit more significant than we initially thought. So, he's going to be week to week at the moment. I'm going to be honest, doesn't look great for this week. We'll see what the next day brings. But that doesn't look great at the moment for this coming week. But we'll see if that's going to be a multiple week. We'll kind of play that one by ear, whether that's going to be multiple weeks but right now he doesn't look great for this week. As far as the quarterback situation goes, let me say this. I have had multiple conversations with Derek. Apparently there's been a bunch of things written the last few days. Here's the situation with Derek. Derek Carr wants to play this season. He wants to come back and play this season. That there's absolutely zero doubt about that. He's in here every day, doing everything that he possibly can from a rehab standpoint to get himself back on the field. There's absolutely, like I said, zero doubt about that. He had actually his best day today. I appreciate and respect the fact that he wants to come back and play, and so therefore that's why this thing's day to day. We're not going to put him in harm's way. We're going to make sure that he's able to go out there and function, and that's really what it comes down to right now. When he can fully function and go out there and function all the duties as a quarterback, he'll be back on the field. But apparently there was some, reports out there about him being done for the season and things like that. If he was done for the season, we would have put him on IR by now, and we would have shut him down. That's just not the case. And so he's working his tail off every day. He's frustrated by some of the reports. Quite frankly, we've had multiple conversations about it. And he's in here every day. And like I said, he had one of his best days today. So as soon as he's able to function, and as soon as he's able to go out there and get some functionality back in his hand, we'll do that. Right now, the concussion is not an issue. He just has to go out there and get one practice in to clear the final concussion protocol. If Derek's unable to play this week, Spencer Rattler will be the starting quarterback for us. Obviously, he gave us a spark this past game in the second half. Had a real good practice day today. So that's where we are with him. And then, Marcus MVS, we held him out today. He probably could have gone. We wanted to give him one extra day. He should be back out there tomorrow, at least in a limited capacity. And then that's kind of an update on all the injuries. So.
The Packers come in 10-4 on the season, needing one win to secure at least a wild card spot in the playoffs. Quarterback Jordan Love has come on of late, something he has done the past 2 seasons. Love leads all NFL quarterbacks since 2023 in pass touchdown interception ratio and passer rating from week 11 on, including the playoffs, which they went on a tear to make last season. With Love rolling the the offense has been rolling, 30 or more points in the last 4 games. This will be the 4th straight primetime game for Green Bay. In these primetime games this year, they're averaging 30 points. Running back Josh Jacobs is helping pace the team with 12 rushing touchdowns and is 3rd in the NFL with 1,147 rushing yards.
Well, I think his success has been eye-opening. He's really done a great job. And everybody thought when they lost Aaron Jones they were going to, and here they go. He comes in and he's just doing a phenomenal job. I think his usage, the way they use him, the way Matt uses him in the offense is really impressive. He can run many different types of plays. He's not just a downhill runner. He can gets in the open field and he makes people miss. And so he's a big challenge. I mean, he's playing at such a high level right now. He's playing as one of the best backs in the league. And so and then when you look at what he's done in their home games, it's even more impressive. They really get him going. He's one of those guys that get going early in the game. He gets his touches, and you look what he did in Seattle the other day. They started the game off, and he just kind of controlled the game. And that's what he does, the run after catch, the yards after contact. That's really the most maybe impressive thing about him. Rarely does the one guy alone or the first guy there get him on the ground. He's running through contact. That's going to be a huge part of this game. We've done a better job of that the last couple of weeks, and we need to continue, to have that, that success in stopping the run, because that's really, right now, their offense is just feeding off of him, and I mean, it's impressive.
As a team, the Packers averaged 144 rushing yards a game. The Saints allow the 6th most, at just under 134.5. This one will come down to how well the Saints can limit that Green Bay run game. For some more insight into this week's opponent, here is Packers.com editor Mike Spofford. Mike, thank you so much for joining me on the New Orleans Saints podcast. We are getting ready for that Monday Night Football game in Green Bay, Saints, Packers. It is going to be another primetime game for you guys, and the Packers have done pretty well in primetime so far this season. What has been working?
Well, you're right. It's the 4th of 4 in a row here as far as the Packers playing in prime time. I guess the team has gotten used to it. Unfortunately, the close loss in Detroit on that Thursday night game was the one blemish in this latest stretch. But playing primetime games around here is nothing new, whether they're at home or on the road. Matt LaFleur does a really good job in terms of just managing the player's schedule, adjusting the practice schedule if needed when the guys need a little bit more rest, or have some extra need some extra recovery time in there. So it's nothing new to these guys around here, and they'll be geared up for it, especially playing at home.
Yeah, playing at home and one win away from clinching a spot in the playoffs. How much of a conversation has that been? Will that be this week?
It's funny, Matt LaFleur was asked about that earlier this week, and he kind of dismissed it. He's, I think everybody knows what the situation is. The Packers need one more win to clinch a wild card spot, but that's really not the focus of the coaching staff at this point. They see a team that is maybe starting to hit its stride a little bit. Is trying to peak at the right time, but this team isn't there yet. There's still been some lulls in some games, some glitches, things that haven't gone quite right, and LaFleur and his staff are really focused on smoothing those things out and getting this team playing its best football when those playoffs roll around. It's I don't think you're going to see, if the Packers were to win this game and clinch a playoff spot, I don't know if you're necessarily going to see a really big celebration in that regard. It's going to be more about how do they look, how are they playing, because they know that it takes playing your best football in January to go anywhere.
Yeah. Well, last season, the Packers went on a tear towards the end of the year, and it looks like at least quarterback Jordan Love is continuing the trend of playing really well in the second half of the season. How have you seen him continue to grow?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing with Love this season in terms of, the difference in his play earlier in the year versus how he's playing now is really been predicated on his health. He got hurt. He injured his knee right at the end of the week 1 game, the season opener in Brazil against the Eagles. He missed a couple of games, then he came back, but he wasn't back to full strength. He had to play hurt on that knee for a little while. And then he ends up with a groin injury that knocked him out of the second half of the Jacksonville game. And he did come back and play right away the following week. He didn't miss any games because of the groin injury. But again, he had to, fight his way through a couple of games,
Sure.
not being fully healthy there. And so since Jordan Love has gotten healthy and we've seen, his mobility in the pocket and just, the way he is directing things on offense, looking like he doesn't have the limitations in his lower body. He's not dealing with any of the, any injuries in his legs. He seems to have, have really found, the consistency and the rhythm that he had at the end of last season.
Mm-hmm. He hasn't had an interception in the last 4 games, and that's not the way he started the season, but understandably so if he is dealing with injuries there. How much of the Packers' success offensively is predicated off their ability to run?
I think it's been a big part of it this year. Certainly the Packers had Aaron Jones last year, and he was a big part of things when the offense really hit its stride down the stretch. But Josh Jacobs has been a focal point for this offense right from the beginning, and he's really been, when you look at his workload in terms of the average carries per game and whatnot, he's really been even more of a workhorse, so to speak, than Aaron Jones was. So the offense has a different feel to it because of that, and LaFleur has even talked about how there's a much more physical element to this offense because of the way they're able to run the ball with Jacobs and the way they've been able to set the tone with that running game. So it does look and feel different than Love's first year as a starter last year, and Jacobs has a huge part to do with that.
Okay, so where are the weaknesses? What can the Saints take advantage of?
Well, I mean, I guess the biggest thing with the Packers offensively is that has just been a lack of consistency. As I said, they looked great. You go back a couple weeks to the Detroit game on Thursday Night Football. The Packers looked great towards the end of the first half and pretty much all through the second half offensively. But in the first 3 drives of the game, they went punt, fumble.
What is the injury situation going into this Monday night game?
Well, the biggest one that everybody's wondering about is star cornerback Jair Alexander and when he might be able to come back from his knee injury. The Packers are certainly hoping to get him back by this point, but he's basically missed the last 6 games. He tried one comeback a few weeks ago in Chicago, but only played like 10 snaps in the game and then came out and then has not returned to the lineup since then. So it's taken a lot longer to get him back than the Packers were planning on. And, it's sort of just been a week-to-week thing to see whether or not he's going to be available. The most recent thing now that has cropped up is Quay Walker at linebacker. He injured his ankle in the Seattle game last Sunday night, and LaFleur said that he's week to week. So I would say, his status is definitely in doubt for this week's game. But on the positive side, injury-wise, the Packers got rookie linebacker Edgerrin Cooper back last week. He had missed 3 games with a hamstring injury, and he was an absolute terror against the Seahawks. He ended up winning NFC Defensive Player of the Week. He had a sack, a couple quarterback hits. He had an interception. He was all over the field and was clearly a defensive piece that had been missing during those 3 weeks he was out. So it was good for the Packers to get him back.
Sure. This is a matchup that we saw last season, but way earlier in the year up there, a lot different as far as the weather goes. How much do you think that's going to impact things for this game Monday night?
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. Right now, the forecast is for some possible snow showers on Monday night, which I'm sure the networks will love in terms of that potential evening broadcast. Here on Thursday afternoon, as we're recording this, it's a full-on snowstorm out there in Green Bay right now, and possibly up to 6 inches falling within the next today and and into the overnight hours. So winter feels like we've had some cold snaps already, had some snow already, but then it's kind of gone away when things warm up again. It sort of feels like winter is arriving for real now.
Great.
as the holidays approach. So yeah, the weather definitely could be a factor. The Packers have played some cold games this year. The Thanksgiving night game against Miami was pretty cold. The Sunday before Thanksgiving when they played San Francisco, that game was pretty cold. So this Green Bay team is already used to it a little bit this year. I'm sure they'd like to use that to their advantage against a dome team like New Orleans.
Yeah, I have talked to some people, some Saints fans who are heading up to the game, and man, it's going to be hard for them because it's not ever that cold here, and so they better be bundled up. But I know fans always show out there and pack Lambeau. It is such a fun environment. And the way that the Packers have been playing, what's on the line, kind of what are you expecting from just the stadium feel?
Yeah, I mean, I think it'll be a great atmosphere for the game. It's 2 nights before Christmas, and everybody's going to be thinking about the holidays and all that. I don't think, based on what I've seen of the forecast, I don't think it's supposed to be too awfully cold on Monday night. We're not talking about like single-digit temperatures or anything like that. So I don't think it'll be that uncomfortable, at least for the fans around here. If there is some snow that starts to fall during the game, the crowd will absolutely love it. They will be totally into it if the snowflakes are falling, and they'll feel like that it's true Packer weather.
Mm-hmm, I bet so. In preparation for the Saints, there's obviously the quarterback situation here, the question mark as to who's going to start. Derek Carr being injured, and you had Jake Hayner starting the last game, Spencer Rattler coming in. So how do you anticipate the Packers preparing for just the uncertainty of who they're going to face under center?
Yeah, I mean, the Packers have dealt with this during the season before with some other teams as well, and generally LaFleur's approach, the defensive approach, is to really prepare for the offense, prepare for the system and the scheme, more so than maybe the individual who is running it, and then study some specific things about those individuals and some of the different things that they bring to the table. But I don't think the Packers necessarily expect New Orleans to suddenly be running, a whole new offense, just based on who the quarterback is. So they really focus their film study on, more so on scheme and system, and then just adjust to the individual from there.
What do you think this game is going to come down to?
I think a lot of it is going to come down to the pass rush. As I said before, on Green Bay's side of things, the pass rush has been up and down this season. Last week was very much an up week for the pass rush. The Green Bay really dominated Seattle's offensive line, got 7 sacks against the 2 different quarterbacks that the Seahawks used. Other pressure that led to an interception in the end zone, which was a big play in the game. And so the Packers need to keep that up. Whoever is the quarterback for New Orleans, the Packers are going to be looking to disrupt that guy as much as possible. On the other side of things, the Packers are certainly aware that the Saints had 8 sacks against Washington last week, and that defense was a big part of coming back from that 17-0 deficit. Putting New Orleans in a position to win that game and pull that one out at the end. So Green Bay has only allowed 1 sack. Love has only been sacked once in the last 3 games. The pass protection has been a big plus. really for the bulk of the season. So Green Bay needs to continue that.
So without cornerback Jair Alexander available, it seems like Carrington Valentine has stepped up.
Not only the first interception of the season for him, but the first interception of his young career in the NFL last week when he picked off Geno Smith in the end zone in Seattle. And, a play like that could be a real big confidence boost for a young player. And I think the Packers are looking for, bigger and better things out of Valentine if he does need to continue to play as much as he has in place of Alexander.
A second-year player there. I love the name.
Carrington Valentine.
Yeah, it's great. There's always fun names out there. And I think that Edgerrin Cooper, he should have been an edge rusher, no?
Yeah, you would think with a name like that he would come off the edge.
A little bit different schedule this week, Saints fans, as the first practice was today on Thursday. We will have updates Friday with another podcast then. And then Saturday, we'll still have you covered as the Saints are out on the practice field at NewOrleansSaints.com. Will be everything you need to know from the player interviews to what happened and who was in and out and what that injury report is looking like before the Saints head up to Green Bay. So stick with us. We'll have you covered all week long. And for the best listening experience in the NFL this season, you can feel every play, every hit, every moment with the Sony 1000 XM5 noise canceling headphones, the official headphones of the New Orleans Saints. With premium noise cancellation, you are in the zone, no distractions, just pure football. Whether you're in your living room or on the go, you'll never miss a beat with Sony headphones. Thanks for listening to the podcast today. As always, like and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, or just head to NewOrleansSaints.com for anything that you need. Talk to you again tomorrow.
Thanks for listening to the New Orleans Saints podcast. Join us 3 times per week on NewOrleansSaints.com, the Saints mobile app, or you can download the podcast on iTunes. We'll see you next time, right here on the New Orleans Saints podcast.